everyone. For our second paper, I thought it would be fun to explore a topic in thermal physiology in mammals. And as I looked around for potential articles, I quickly discovered there weren't a lot of great papers for us to work with for studying thermal physiology in mammals directly, dealing with high temperatures. However, I was able to find a paper on a closely related topic, which is the paper that's pictured right here, on gene expression plasticity and desert adaptation in house mice. So this article is going to deal with a topic that is related to coping with high temperatures, which is that many environments where there are high temperatures are also environments where water is very limited, so xeric environments. So that's the major focus of this particular paper. To make sense of this paper, it's going to be helpful to talk for a couple of minutes about a couple of concepts that the paper will bring up in the introduction, mostly having to do with the whole notion of phenotypic plasticity. So I've got a definition of phenotypic plasticity here, which is basically the ability of an organism to change, physiologically or phenotypically more broadly, in response to changes in their environment. And in physiology, we often characterize some of these responses as either acclimation or acclimatization responses. And it's very common to make these characterizations by generating something referred to as a reaction norm. So I want to just illustrate a simple reaction norm right here. So for thinking about a reaction norm, we're going to think about taking an organism that might be found in one environment and then transplanting that organism into a different environment. So environment 1, environment 2. A lot of these studies have actually been conducted with animals like mice. So for example, if you take a mouse from a sandy environment where the surrounding area is a light sandy color and move it into a much darker environment, you might then wonder, will this mouse be able to change in response to those changing environment colors? Will we see changes in its coat color? So there's a couple of different things that can happen if you transplant a mouse, right, from one environment to another, right? So let's say in environment 1, this mouse has one coat color. So, here's phenotype number 1. And so this might be coat color with lighter coat colors here, darker coat colors here, okay? Right, if coat color is completely genetically determined, if you move that mouse into environment number 2, then you'd expect to see no change in that mouse's phenotype. And this can be true of some traits, right? Some traits might be entirely genetically determined, so you won't really see a change in that mouse's lifespan. But most traits tend to actually be a product both of genetics and of the environment. And we also know there's often some variation between individuals in a population in terms of what their initial coat color is. So by contrast to a trait that is what we might call fixed, right? No changes in response to changes in the environment. There can be other traits that will respond to that change in environment through a shift in the phenotype that you observe. And again, that shift will likely have both a genetic and an environmental component to it. So an individual that shows phenotypic plasticity, or organisms that show phenotypic plasticity, might be able to change phenotype depending on the environment that they are in. So this paper is going to address the question of the extent to which mice have been able to adapt, house mice have been able to adapt to the dry conditions that are found in the desert Southwest relative to the historic locations where these mice originally came from.